Thank you for choosing Cal ISO Corporation for your training needs. This short video clip is presented to share with you some tips for a successful document control system. It should be noted that the information shared is the opinion of Cal ISO and should not be taken as required or standard practice. Control of documents is one of the most important requirements of the ISO standards. It can be found in ISO 9001-2008 in section 4.2.3 and lists 7 specific controls that need to be in place. This presentation will focus on ISO 9001-2008 since it is known as the foundation standard on which all of the other standards are built. But for information purposes, I will share with you a quick list of the other standards requirements. Control of documents can be found in ISO 1345-2003, which is the medical device requirements, in section 4.2.3 with 1 slight change and 2 additional requirements. ISO 14001-2004, which is the environmental standard, can be found in section 4.4.5 and contain the same requirements as ISO 9001-2008. AS 9100 Rev C, which is the aerospace requirements, document control can be found in 4.2.3, again with the same requirements as ISO 9001-2008. And finally, ISO TS 16949-2009, which are the automotive requirements, also can be found in section 4.2.3 with again the same requirements as ISO 9001-2008. Documents required by the quality management system shall be controlled. The word shall means that it is an absolute requirement and your company must have a document control procedure. A documented procedure shall, there's that word shall again, be established to define the controls needed to, and here is where the list of the 7 specific requirements begin. To approve documents for adequacy prior to issue. We have seen success when the following requirements are included in the document control procedure. Personnel performing the review or approval have access to and understand pertinent background information for the basis of review and approval, and changes to the quality management system documents are reviewed and approved by the same function or people performing the original review and approval unless specifically designated otherwise. Letter B of these 7 requirements are to review and update as necessary and reapprove documents. Now, we found this to be a bit of a stumbling block for some companies. They either put too stringent of a requirement on their procedure, such as a document review will be completed annually, then they don't follow through, or they just ignore this requirement altogether, both of which will get your company an observation at the least when you're audited. A good rule of thumb is to carefully review your documents during the regularly scheduled internal audits and annotate either on the audit checklist or the audit report that the documents were reviewed and found to be current and adequate if no changes are necessary. Letter C of the requirements are to ensure that changes in the current revision status of the documents are identified. The requirement for change is managed by including a brief revision history table within your procedure. The requirement for revision is easily addressed by including the revision level of the documents, either in the header or the footer of the document. The example provided shows the revision level in the footer. Letter D requirement states to ensure that relevant versions of applicable documents are available at points of use. There are companies that solely believe in the electronic storage of their documents in systems such as Documentum or SharePoint and don't keep anything paper or hard copy. Employees have access to documents through a shared drive with read-only capabilities. Then there are companies that only keep hard copies and don't do anything electronically. Employees have access to controlled binders that must be kept current should documents get revised. Changing out obsolete documents can be quite a large task if there are a number of binder locations that must be kept current. My preference for meeting this requirement is a combination of both electronic and hard copy. If there is a situation where, for example, there is a manufacturing floor and the staff does not have access to the computers, then a hard copy controlled binder is a logical way to provide access. Otherwise, if employees have computers, then providing read-only access to a shared drive containing the controlled documents is indeed the easiest. Letter E requirements are to ensure that documents remain legible and readily identifiable. Again, this requirement, in my opinion, should be both electronic and hard copy. Maintaining an electronic copy of your documents ensures easy access for changes as well as an ongoing history of the document. A critical point to remember is that if documents are kept electronically, the computer system must be backed up regularly to ensure the integrity of the quality management system should the computer system fail. Maintaining a hard copy in a controlled environment, such as in a restricted area or in a locked cabinet, will ensure the documents remain legible and identifiable. A controlled environment will also discourage staff from removing controlled documents without the knowledge of the document control coordinator. It is my experience as a document control coordinator and quality manager and auditor that during an audit it is much easier to pull a hard copy of a document out of a file and present it quickly and efficiently when requested. There's nothing more frustrating than having to wait and wait while documents are retrieved, or worse yet, they can't be located on the shared drive. Requirement F is to ensure that documents of external origin determined by the organization to be necessary for the planning and operation of the quality management system are identified and their distribution controlled. Documents of external origin can be a variety of documents. ISO 9001-2008, for example, is considered an external document. So think about what other types of documents you might have that are from external sources. How about MIL standards, other ISO standards, or customer specifications? These types of documents can be in either electronic or hard copy format and must be identified. My preference is to include them in the master document list as external documents. Control of distribution should be more stringent since more than likely you only have one copy of the document. This is where the restricted area or locked cabinet can be very good to have. And finally, letter G requirement is to prevent the unintended use of obsolete documents and to apply suitable identification to them if they are retained for any purpose. This requirement can be met in several ways. Electronically, the documents can be moved to an obsolete or history folder. Care must be made that obsolete documents are not accessible to the general staff in the shared drive. Hard copy, the documents can be removed from the active file or cabinet, stamped very obviously obsolete, and filed in a separate file folder or cabinet. Physical separation from the active or current hard copy files is critical. Thank you for your time to listen to this presentation. I hope the information provided has been helpful in your understanding of the requirement and the creation of your document control system. Please feel free to email us if you should have any further questions.